Today I want to talk about something that can quietly destroy our margins while you scale, and can basically put a limit on your ability to scale. So usually what we notice that companies and sellers that scale from 1 million to 10 million or more, they don't fail to grow because of ads or marketing. They fail because of operational risks, just start compounding. And one of those risks that is very much underestimated, in my opinion, is brand and IP risks that grow along as a seller grows in scale. And so by working closely with multiple sellers and multiple companies, we were looking closely at which of those sellers are in the highest risk in terms of brand dilution and IP protection matters. And so, because not every brand gets copied and not every brand gets their IP misused, but those who rely on third parties for manufacturing, and those who sell quite generic products with their own private labels, they're usually exposed to a higher level of risks just because it's easier to replicate their products. And so the bad actors in the game, they can hijack your IP basically and replicate your product. Also, those who become category leaders and whose brand name becomes a popular search term on Amazon usually attract a lot of attention from those who want to use your IP. For this risk exposure, you don't even sometimes have to be on a marketplace to be counterfeited there. So more often than not, we see brands that become popular outside of a marketplace, and consumers start to go into marketplaces searching for those specific brands. And even if they're not selling on the marketplace, hijackers of IP usually come to those marketplaces and fill out that gap where original brand owner just doesn't do that. And of course, brands that are scaling fast without registered trademarks and without registered designs, without formed IP portfolios, at least in key markets where they're scaling, they usually also attract a lot of attention from professional infringers, from professional IP thefts, who look for brands like that. Like there are people always checking for sellers and brands and companies who does a significant volume and attract consumer attention, but does not have their intellectual property in place, registered in key markets. So if you're doing above 1 million in sales on Amazon, most likely you might already be a target for some of these bad actors. But what we see then, that any seller that basically goes over 10 million in revenue will have a IP risk exposure, definitely. And somebody who reaches 50, 60 million in revenues on Amazon, they are most definitely have to be prepared for targeted attacks. So what are the main risks that the subjects I just identified usually have to face on Amazon? And those are listing hijackers, so somebody who's coming into your own listings and attaching to them by offering allegedly the same product for a smaller price. Also counterfeiters and copycats, so somebody who imitates your product, copy how it looks, copy its name, and try to mislead a consumer into its own listing rather into yours. And the third is like the most dangerous one, trademark and IP squatters. So these are more sophisticated infringers that usually does like coordinated attacks over a brand which does not have its IP portfolio protected and registered. So in a targeted brand attack, usually all three of those happen at once, and companies can see significant damage from that. So a little more details about each of these risks. So listing hijackers, as mentioned, they usually try to take over your buy box button, and they can quite easily do that if you don't have your Amazon brand registry in place. And in order to have a brand registry set up on Amazon, you have to have a registered trademark as well. So what the hijackers usually do, they drop the prices, and they bleed your revenue, basically, because on your own listing, you can have downtime times when other persons are just using your buy box button on the same listing. And one of the most underlooked risks that comes with hijackers. So listing hijackers, more often than not, are not sending the original product that you're selling, even though they are attached to your listing. So when consumers are receiving low quality or fake goods that do not match in how they look on listing and what they're getting, usually they come back complaining on the listing they bought the product. And the brand erosion and the brand damage is getting done to you, not to the actual seller. Another important class of risks is related to counterfeits and copycats, and this happens more often than a lot of sellers expect. So fake listings pretending to sell your products pop up usually once a brand starts scaling up and falls into one of the three risk categories mentioned in the beginning. So these counterfeit listings, they usually try to mislead consumers. They try to imitate your product look. They try to look as close as they can to what you are selling. And so basically you end up competing against your own listings as you're promoting your own product. When a consumer goes to marketplace, he can see like multiple listings looking exactly the same and get mixed up in which one to choose. So this creates brand erosion and loss of distinctiveness. And in terms of consumer perception, that's one of the key factors. Now, the third category of risks, which is arguably the highest risk in terms of potential damage, are trademark and IP squatters. So these are usually, as I mentioned, sophisticated players that are looking for brands that don't have neatly registered IPs in all key markets. So what you try to do then, they try to go ahead of you and register your IP assets in their own name as true owners. And so what usually goes after that, they create false brand registry accounts, they create false listings, and they start filing false IP claims against your own listing. They can freeze up your listings in that way, and this can be a very dangerous situation because IP laws are jurisdictional and territorial. So for example, if you have IP registration, then in Europe, that doesn't save you anyhow from somebody going to US and registering your own trademark, the same trademark in US, essentially closing US market for your own product in that way. These infringers that act in such way, usually they either try to replicate your product and make sales and just generate revenue in that way, or they try to get money out of you just to sell you the trademark in that specific area. But in order to do that, you usually end up paying like way more than what you would actually be paying. Now, this is a practical example, one of many examples that you could find on Amazon. So here on the left side, you could see original listing, and this is like 9 examples of fake listings that are currently present at the same time on different jurisdictions. We are showing here just a few examples. In reality, there's way more, at least 20 copies of this particular product. So imagine if you're a consumer and you go to Amazon, and once you're looking for a specific brand vitamin gummies, you would see these type of results on the same page, all one to another. That obviously misleads consumers big way, and cost loss of revenue. So the very expensive, as I would say, cost of late action, meaning that you're not like taking care of your IP portfolio and your brand protection on the right time, is usually revenue leakage. So what we have seen in our practice working with varying size clients in various different product verticals, we see that revenue leakage can be anywhere from 10% to 80% once a brand gets targeted. So 80% is like an extreme case, but this sometimes happens in very niche verticals where there's one strong category leader and there's not a lot of competition or no competition at all. So if you're the only category leader forming the whole category, basically, another listing that would pop up in the same category can instantly take away a lot of your revenue. So another huge cost is rebuilding trust in brand. It usually takes a lot of time. After a targeted attack, if consumers get a lot of bad products, fake products, and stuff of that sort, usually wiping out your reputation again after that, and rebuilding trust will take time. And in cases of IP squatters that I mentioned, when they remove your listing, even if they do so wrongly, it will take months, usually anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks for you to get your listing recovered. And obviously, that's a loss of revenue. And in many cases, if you are unable to deal with these infringers on Amazon structure, basically, and you have to go outside the marketplace enforcement mechanisms, and you have to go to local courts. Of course, the legal costs are usually very high, and tends to build up, especially if you have to take care of these matters in different jurisdictions, overseas or somewhere like that. Now, what you can do to prevent any of this happening. So, and this is a lesson that anybody who's thinking about scaling and is on that trajectory should take into account. So first of all, your core IP assets, meaning trademarks and designs, specifically your product designs, if those can be registered, or your packaging designs, they should be filed for registry before you start spending like cash on scaling up. And this is a must to avoid IP squatters and brand squatters, as I mentioned, because those can cost you your whole business, basically. Another thing that you should definitely take care of is Amazon's brand registry program. Once you have your trademark filed for registration in US, or you have it registered in EU, you can get access to Amazon brand registry program, and you should definitely do that. That's very helpful in enforcing your IP rights, and especially dealing with listing hijackers. So it makes the whole process a lot more effective. Also, you should be sure that your manufacturing and supply agreements cover intellectual property part as well as other commercial details. So more often than not, what we see is then that sometimes manufacturing companies, they start producing the same products that you are buying from them for other sellers as well. So this can very negatively affect your business, and we usually suggest like adding specific wording in your manufacturing and supply agreements to prevent that. And last but not least, we always suggest that you should be monitoring what happens in your product vertical across, and specifically in under the search terms under which you position your brand. You have to monitor what's going on, like before the problem starts, not after it's like present. And but if you skip those parts, and you're already in a position where you have hijackers or you have counterfeiters targeting your brand, what you should do, you have to register your assets if you haven't done that before. So trademarks and designs, if it's not too late, if IP squatters haven't done that before you must act immediately and do that. Also, you should not solely rely on brand registry. So if you have your brand registry set up, it's helpful, but it's not a solution. Brand registry is not actively per se protecting your IP rights. And you still have to monitor yourself and file yourself. It's just that it's easier to do when you have brand registry. And also, if you have counterfeits, if you have hijackers, you should act on them as soon as you can. Waiting over 30 days is risking to lose leverage on those. So fresh listings, fresh sellers that just pop out and still don't have traction are a lot easier to take down, even if you don't have registered IP assets on other grounds such as copyrights and stuff. Now, the process of taking down infringements is, if it's manual, it's usually expensive and endless. You have to monitor, you have to do legal evaluations, filing reports, and escalation, and that's usually time-consuming and cost-consuming. So as at EnforceShield, we built an agentic AI system that covers the full cycle, meaning that we have AI agents crawling over marketplaces, vetting results, evaluating them, filing takedown notices, and monitoring results afterwards. So by automating the process fully, we can do that at scale. So let's say if you have a real problem, like in this specific client case that I have some stats like here. Here we worked with a company that had 6 Amazon brands. Each of those were doing 10+ million in revenues per brand. And so when they came to us, they had over 5,500 infringing listings, meaning copycats or hijackers on Amazon present. And by using automated measures, and we were able to reduce that number by 4 times in 4 months. So meaning that we take down over 4,500 of these infringers in just 4 months. So what good brand protection looks like at such scale, at 10 million revenue. So usually what we suggest, like how your setup should look like, you should have daily monitoring of your product verticals. You should have abilities to take down quickly the infringing content. So you have to be able to act fast. Our usual SLA is 48 hours upon which we act on any infringer we spot. You have to have an escalation strategy in place, because sometimes the infringers, they do fight back, and you have to be prepared for that. And you have to have your IP portfolio formed and registered in at least in top 3 of your markets. So if you're anybody scaling on Amazon and want a free IP risk check, please feel free to reach out to us. Mention Orange Klik or USCon, so we know you came from here, and we'll be happy to help you with whatever we can.